Tonight, a KXAN investigation.
Anyone that was living in Marble Falls in November 1965 has a memory of this happening to this beautiful young girl. The young girl that was murdered down by Backbone Creek.
A young girl's case, leading our team to uncover an antiquated process for investigating death, still used across Texas.
I hereby certify that I held an inquest over the remains of Lanice Danon Lewis and found that death was due to strangulation accidental.
In a 3-night event, our digging leads state leaders to look at ways to modernize the process and reveals new details in this hill country mystery.
We just didn't see any way that that was what happened. You know, she was murdered.
I'm KXAN investigator Josh Hinkle, joined by KXAN investigator Arzo Dost.
That investigation, a hanging on Backbone Creek, is coming up.
And that investigation is just minutes away. But first, a new wave of police oversight. The city of Austin selected the next round of commissioners for the Community Police Review Commission.
KXAN's Brianna Hollis tells us what's new about the group this time around and the scope of their influence.
I will read the name. That person will have a seat on the commission.
Inside city council chambers, bright orange balls of a lottery selection marked the individuals meeting certain criteria chosen at random
11 names
to serve on Austin's revamped Community Police Review Commission.
The first name is Damaris Jackson.
My name is Damaris Jackson.
Damaris Jackson has lived in Austin more than 30 years. He used to do contract work for the Department of Defense and is currently an educator working with 5th graders.
I'm excited about it. I've been actually looking forward to it for some time.
It's a bit of a reboot. This new system prompted by voters in May 2023 when they pushed through the Austin Police Oversight Act. Choosing the commission this way was one of the provisions. The previous system was more rigorous. Office of Police Oversight Communications Director Sarah Peralta says, with APD itself having a hand in the selection process.
Can you talk about the power these commissioners have?
They provide recommendations. They oversee and they have the authority to ask for briefings and to oversee OPO and APD, but their authority is related to recommendations.
I know that there needs to be accountability. There's good officers and there's bad. We need to make sure that they're getting the proper training, everything that they need before going out. I want to help make sure that that's what they're doing.
Brianna Hollis, KXAN News.
And each of the selected commissioners will have to complete 20 hours of training in the next 90 days. Their meetings will begin next year. The Austin Police Association says it welcomes accountability and asks for a fair system of doing so. In a statement to KXAN, the president of the police union talked about their desire for a system that, quote, collaborates with us and takes the perspective of officers who are asked to do an incredibly difficult job into account. Now, Austin police officers had been working without a long-term contract since March of 2023. The police union and the city came to an agreement this fall on a new 5-year contract. The council members approved it last month. The contract offers a 28% pay raise for officers over the next 5 years. Officers working the night shift will get a stipend, and field training will come with more pay. Now, the contract also appears to allow the public to submit anonymous complaints and extends the statute of limitations on the discipline of officers to 1 year.
President-elect Donald Trump is expected to visit Brownsville tomorrow to watch the 6th SpaceX launch, and this all comes after SpaceX CEO Elon Musk showed support for Trump while on the campaign trail. Starship has a 30-minute launch window beginning at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
And new tonight, a Dallas Cowboys spokesperson tells NBC News in Dallas that high wind bursts during the day may have caused a piece of metal to fall from the roof of AT&T Stadium before tonight's Cowboys game against the Texans. It happened while the retractable roof was in the process of opening prior to the game. There were no injuries. Another piece of loose metal was secured and the roof was closed up right before kickoff.
And we had some wind here locally too, gusting up to 32 miles per hour at Camp Mabry as we got a morning cold front and rain. Right now we're cooling off, widespread 50s, a few 40s in spots in the hill country. A look at the change in 24 hours. We're about 15 to 27 degrees colder than this time last night. It will not be outrageously cold tonight. We'll be down in the low 50s in Austin with some 40s outside of the city. We've had colder. We were colder than that last week. And in fact, we'll be warmer tomorrow. We'll show you the numbers ahead of another cold front that may bring our first frost or first freeze of the season for some parts of Central Texas.
Throughout time, I've had several people discourage me from, saying too much about it, because it just dredge up old memories. I don't think there's anything that is sadder than a young girl dying.
What was it like growing up in Marble Falls in the 1960s?
For me, you couldn't have asked for a better place to be. It was still rural for the most part.
How many people were you going to school with?
I think there were around 60 in our class.
You were in the same grade as Danon Lewis.
We were in the 8th grade. This is a picture of Danon. This is a picture of me. We both named Lewis, so naturally we would come close together. She was just a pretty girl, blonde hair, long blonde hair. She's kind of stayed in the background. She was just maybe on the shy side, if nothing else. It's the way I remember her. There were several of my classmates that lived within a few blocks of her.
As I remember that area of town, back then it was extremely woodsy. Basically one route back over to this side of town because of Backbone Creek. It was just open to be explored.
It was an innocent time.
What do you mean by that?
Well, being in the rural area, we just weren't exposed to things that you would living in the city.
This hill country town, an hour northwest of Boston, where 13-year-old Lenice Danon Lewis and her classmates grew up, was a much different place than the Marble Falls of today. In 1965, the population barely peaked 2,000. There was no police department here, no medical examiner within 100 miles.
The county sheriff mostly handled what little crime there was, and when someone died, it fell to the local justice of the peace.
This incident happened in November. It just always was a story that haunted all of us. She had gone home and mixed up a cake and put it in the oven for them to have that night for dinner. And then she started mopping the kitchen. And then all of a sudden, then she disappeared. The cake still in the oven, burned by the time I guess somebody got there. And that's kind of what tipped them off that she was missing. And then a few hours later, she was found in a small shed behind the house, hanging. It wasn't the norm for Marble Falls to have an 8th grade girl die or be murdered. It was a real shock to all of us. It wouldn't take very much of an investigator to figure that out, that something doesn't smell right about the whole thing.
Things like that didn't happen in Marble Falls.
Especially to someone so young.
Yes.
There was an undercurrent somewhere, somehow, that must have caused this to happen, because I don't think she died by her own hand.
Records from any investigation in that area of Marble Falls in the 60s are missing. Officials found nothing in the archives except Danon Lewis's death certificate, signed by Justice of the Peace, or JP C.B. Wall. He listed the cause as an accidental strangulation, suggesting she tied the rope around her own neck too tight. It's a narrative Judge Wall maintained since the beginning, telling the local newspaper early on he was convinced she died of an accidental hanging. But many people in Marble Falls refused to accept that. What was the reaction from your classmates when that news came out?
It's just like unbelievable that she would do anything like that.
We just didn't see any way that that was what happened. You know, she was murdered.
In a public notice, Judge Wall acknowledged rumors about foul play and offered a $100 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction in the case. That never happened.
Could you imagine that something like this was an accident?
No, it just seemed more of a fanciful cover-up, if nothing else.
Like the hundreds of other JPs across Texas, Judge Wall had a lot of responsibilities and power. He could issue warrants, hold court, perform marriages, and because his county had no medical examiner, he served as coroner and investigated deaths himself, even though he wasn't a doctor with any medical training.
That role is unique to Texas and still exists today, nearly 60 years later. Plus, since it's an elected position, some say it can get very political.
Politics does play a role in everything. You know, they're all trying to look as good and not have a bunch of unsolved cases laying around if they're going to get reelected. It was just going to be too hard to solve. Close the book, we'll move on to the next thing. And I think that did happen. That's what really rankles so many of us.
Wall was up for re-election just 6 months after Danon died. While campaigning, he told the local paper he'd served the community to the best of his ability. He won another term, and a few months later, Danon's parents sold their home and moved away. Within a few years, Judge Wall died. Most in Danon's family still living wouldn't speak with us on the record about her nearly forgotten story.
This is the funeral notice. This was where her death was in the newspaper.
Then a few years back, her classmate, Ronnie Lewis, started sharing memories on social media.
I have a Facebook group, and we pretty well try to cover different topics from the Marble Falls, Burnett County area, just historical content, and so that's kind of how I got involved with the story.
He posted what he could recall about the case.
It was called The Young Girl That Was Murdered Down by Backbone Creek.
And over time, hundreds of comments and follow-up posts poured in.
There would be more discussion on those threads than just about anything else we did, because there was so much left unsaid. I had different ones that came to me and told me what they knew about it.
Including discrepancies they saw on the death certificate, like Judge Wall's indication Danon was playing in the shed with others before she disappeared, but reports say it then took her brother and his friends 2 hours to find her hanging there.
And it was always said that she was hanging like from a rafter or something, but her knees were touching the ground. Well, you know, it didn't take much imagination to figure out something's wrong.
What are some of the theories that you've heard over the years about what might have happened in this case?
There was somebody that was visiting the neighborhood that had a bad criminal history that could have done it. He had some peeping Tom issues, and he was staying within a few houses of Danon's family. I mean, there's a lot of speculation.
Speculation that almost seemed to flow along Backbone Creek, Danon's neighborhood, the precinct where Judge Wall presided over several other unattended deaths that year, leading up to his re-election. Most of those were suicides, something officials today tell us would be cause for careful consideration and an expert medical opinion.
And while he had discretion to err on the side of caution and ask a local doctor to conduct an autopsy, or maybe even send bodies to a bigger county with a medical examiner, he didn't in all of these cases, including Danon's. It was something that caught the attention of the woman who holds Wall's seat today. If you suspect a crime has occurred related to that death, what do you do at that point?
I'm pretty well going to send that person first off for an autopsy.
We learned that no autopsy was done in this case.
Oh, okay.
The time frame, for some, it seemed rather quick to close something like that without an autopsy.
I know that I would have definitely wanted an autopsy, you know, on that child.
Online now, A Hanging on Backbone Creek, the complete digital investigation. Watch the entire docuseries, explore the Danon Lewis mystery and other reports on Texas's Justice of the Peace system, and more. including an update on how our questions could soon lead to change at the state capitol. And don't forget to listen to a new season of our Catalyst podcast, where we take a closer look at this 60-year-old case and how our team pieced the evidence together. Just go to kxan.com/Backbone Creek.
And our thanks to Josh and Arzo for that. All right, Nick, so the rain was nice, but you were saying it's long gone now.
Yeah, we don't have any more rain in our forecast over the next week. The story, the next several days especially, will be the up and then way down temperatures. There goes the rain from this morning. That came along with a cold front that did knock our temperatures down a little bit here today compared to yesterday, but not by much. It also took away the clouds. We do not expect any clouds overnight or any clouds throughout your Tuesday, so plan on plenty of sun here tomorrow. We'll go a high of 81, so yes, we're back in the 80s tomorrow. That's a full 11 degrees warmer than we should be for this time of year. So let me take you through the temperatures by the hour. We start tomorrow morning at 6. Low 50s for many, upper 40s for some. A cool morning, but not as cold as some of our mornings were, especially last week. By midday tomorrow, we're in the mid-70s. And then in the afternoon, look, the low 80s are back. But then we watch the arrival of our next cold front. This one will be a dry cold front without any clouds either. But it is going to knock our temperatures down to the coldest we have seen so far this season. Not so much in the morning, but in the afternoon Wednesday. We only have highs in the upper and middle 60s in most places. Perhaps our warmest spots hit just about 70, and then things get even colder than that as we get into Thursday morning. It's also going to get windy as this cold front comes in early Wednesday morning. Gusts in the 20 to 35 mile per hour range may actually wake you up, considering the timing, 3-4 in the morning, making for a blustery early start to your Wednesday morning. So how do the temperatures come down? 81 for the high here tomorrow, then it's 69 on Wednesday, and then we're back into the 70s here Thursday and Friday. Our low temperatures keep going down. 51 tomorrow morning, then 49 Wednesday morning. But the coldest morning, as we've been talking about for about a week now, is going to be Thursday morning with our low in Austin of 40. But outside of Austin, widespread 30s, even some middle 30s, and probably a few low 30s. Mid 30s is cold enough for frost, which would be our first frost of the season in many spots. And low 30s, of course, would be cold enough for a light freeze here Thursday morning. Nothing that's going to damage our pipes, but worth protecting your plants for. Here's a look at our first warning weather 7-day forecast. You can see once we get past that cool Wednesday and frigid Thursday morning, temperatures do start to climb back up again. Low to mid 70s Thursday, mid 70s Friday, upper 70s and sunshine Saturday, and we're back in the low 80s on Sunday and Monday, low 80s as well. Hey, don't forget, our KXAN Friendsgiving Challenge continues, and we really need your help. We are $94,000 shy of where we want to be next Wednesday, which is the final day of the campaign. And of course, all of your donations go to the Central Texas Food Bank. And in fact, those donations are triple matched. So $1 from you equals $3 for the Central Texas Food Bank. This is helping to put food on the tables of your neighbors, perhaps people that you know but don't know that they are accepting money from the food bank. There's a lot of people in need here in Central Texas, and they need your help. KXAN.com/Friendsgiving or that QR code on your screen.
This is KXAN Sports, brought to you by Thomas J. Henry.
Hi, good evening. Longhorns close out their 7-game regular season home schedule against Kentucky. Second ever meeting between the two schools. Longhorns won the only other meeting in 1951, 7-6. Coming off that 20-10 emotional win against Arkansas. Emotion is such an important part of the game, but as Coach Sark describes so many reasons for this team's success, it's the emotion between teammates and just the way they interact on and off the field.
These guys are having a blast, and that's what makes this team so fun to be around and so special, because they're truly a team. We're not an offense, a defense, and special teams. Like, these guys are in it together. There's a lot of handshakes. They know more words to songs than I've ever heard of. Like, these guys, I don't know if you noticed it. We went to take the field at Arkansas. They were playing some song that I didn't really hear, and our guys had to sing every lyric to the song before we took the field, and it was like, perfect. Okay, great. We're all fired up. But I think that's what makes this group special. It's like they don't think too much of themselves to like, oh, we're supposed to be a certain way. It's like, oh, we know this song, let's sing this song, you know, like it wasn't planned. And that's the part for me that's super fun. Like, I love these guys, you know, they put forth a lot of effort, they work their tails off, but yet we have fun doing what we get to do.
Whenever Jade gets on me, or Barron Sorrell gets on me, or, you know, a couple of leaders, Quinn, Jake Majors, Kelvin, all those guys get on me, I know that it's coming out of love because we do it in a positive manner. And so there's not a lot of negative talk in our locker room.
And before the game on Saturday, don't forget Texas Game Day, 1:30 over on KBVO. Now, we can look ahead to the Texas A&M game that's been set for a 6:30 kick in College Station 1 week from Saturday night. Cowboys and Texans in Arlington, and it's gotten away from the Cowboys 34-10. It was a 2-possession game, 20-10. Cowboys go for it inside the Texans' 10-yard line. Don't make it. Texans pouring it on. Cowboys are going to fall to 3-7 on the season. We're excited about more high school football on KBVO, including on Thursday night, LBJ undefeated, and the Jaguars have been outstanding and explosive offense from every part, and they will take on Lavernia on Thursday night at 7:30. They'll play that game at Matador Stadium in Seguin, and we will have it for you live. And then on Friday, you can watch Westlake and San Antonio Brennan at 7 o'clock on KBVO. For more on Longhorns and Steve Sarkisian's news conference today, go to KXAN.com.
Here's your day tomorrow. Starts cool, warms up in a hurry. We're up to 81 in the afternoon. KXAN.com/Friendsgiving. We need your help. We're going to be asking a lot of you over the next week.
All right, Nick, thanks so much. And thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you have a fantastic night. We'll see you back here at 4:30.